Hello, my name is Lisa Blauvelt, and this is my initial post for week 8 of Historical Professions. This week we were tasked with looking at George Marsden's The Outrageous Idea of Christian Scholarship. So this book is a critique of secular assumptions that dominate modern academia, and his central thesis argues that the exclusion of religious perspectives, particularly Christian, from mainstream scholarship is unwarranted and inconsistent with the true intellectual pluralism. He calls for greater acceptance of Christian viewpoints within the academic world, especially in fields beyond theology and religious studies like history. There are 5 major points throughout the book that Marsden supports his thesis of including the Christian perspective in academia. First is that secular bias is in academia. Marsden critiques that the prevailing view in the academy is that religious perspectives are inherently biased, and therefore they're not intellectually credible. But he compares this bias to ideological exclusions in the past academic history, like Marxism during the Cold War. So it shows how unfair and restrictive such inclusions can be in our discipline. The second point is that faith and scholarship can coexist. He maintains that faith based perspectives can contribute meaningful and academic inquiry without compromising rigor. Just as scholars with feminist or Marxist or post colonial perspectives are welcomed, so too should the Christian perspective be brought to the table of our discipline. The third idea is that there's a definition of Christian scholarship. And according to Marsden, it doesn't mean promoting dogma or beliefs. Instead, it involves asking how faith commitments might shape research questions, interpretations, and moral frameworks of scholars. In the scholarship informed by a Christian worldview, it's still open to critique and dialogue. The fourth idea is that pluralism and tolerance should be brought to the academic environment. They wouldn't banish religious perspectives, but rather they should include them among the many ideological lenses in research. Excluding these Christian viewpoints undermines the very diversity that academia claims to have. And finally, a call to action. Marsden is challenging Christian scholars to engage more actively and publicly in their disciplines, integrating their faith in their academic work while mainstreaming intellectual integrity and openness. Finally, I decided to compare John Lucas's The Future of History and George Marsden's book that we were looking at this week, because we've been looking at them over the course of our class. They both are critiquing the dominant secular and objectivist assumptions in modern academia through very different but complementary perspectives. So, similar to Marsden, Lucas challenges the myth of objective, value-free history. He insists that history is profoundly personal and interpretive discipline that's shaped by a historian's moral judgment, imagination, and cultural context. Both authors express concern about the decline of moral and cultural tradition in our discipline and the fragmentation of knowledge into narrow technical specializations. While Marsden calls for a greater pluralism that welcomes faith informed scholarship, Lucas advocates a return to the humanistic spirit of historical inquiry. And it's rooted in cultural memory and a sense of moral responsibility. Together, they call for a renewed vision of the academy, one that embraces conviction, tradition, and a full humanity of the scholar in the pursuit of truth. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to talking to all of you this week.